reaches up his hand like, right on. And you know me, a man of the people. And so I reach my hand in like, shaking his hand, and he just grabs my hand and yanks it. And I fly off the stage and hit the ground pretty hard. And he and his two worthy constituents pinned my arms back, and I think the guy who pulled me off stage jumped on top of me and started jackhammering my face with his fist. And I learned very quickly, deflect, dodge, I'm catching fists on the forehead, the cheekbones, and then one perfect shot, and I hear my nose break, and many of you have broken a nose or had it done to you. The sound is personal. The sound is huge, and no one can hear it but you, because the other people, all they hear is music and a fist. Inside, it's like a redwood being split by lightning. And it gives you an adrenaline rush where you feel you can throw these men off you, because the pain is unbelievable. And so like, ah! And at that moment, our roadie, Mugger, jumps off stage, and I wish I could have seen this. Apparently, he did like some action film beatdown and beat up these three guys. Like, boom, 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 boom. And I'm like, staggering away. And he bundles me up and hurls me back on stage and points at the microphone. Get back, and I'm bleeding. And the whole thing is like, come on. And, duty first, duty now. And so I get him back on the mic and keep singing with the blood. You got that. Good. Anyway, that's the end of the show. It really hurts. And so there's no toilet backstage, not in those days. So they built those gigs to keep you mean. And so I have to go through what's left of the audience into the men's room and stand there amongst vomiting punk rockers and puke and try and straighten my nose in the mirror. I'm no doctor, and that's why my nose is a little broke, like, ow! Ah! Ah! And it is what it is. And that's when I realized I'm going to have a really rough go in this band. So by day 5, I was like in a lot of pain, and men in hot pants were freaking me out. And years later, I somewhat stabilized, and I had a small house I rented in Venice, California. My roommate was a guy named Joe Cole. And at that time, we were very, very broke living in Venice, which was pretty fun. And like many of you, then and now, we were fans of a guy named Captain Beefheart. And no doubt some of you have heard of the name Captain Beefheart, who just passed away recently. His real name is Don Van Vliet, and he made many, many records. And if you have a eclectic taste in music, Captain Beefheart might be on your radar. You might listen to one of his records, and it might not speak to you. It doesn't mean you have a bad taste in music. It's not everyone's cup of tea. Byron Coley, the great music writer, about 150 years ago, gave me Trout Mask Replica, the great double album of Captain Beefheart and the Magic Band. And I heard it and went, that's my guy. This works for me. And I became a tremendous Captain Beefheart fan. Like I said, it's not everyone's taste. And somewhere in the 80s, 83 or thereabouts, Captain Beefheart, after releasing his last album, Dock at the Radar Station, which I think is just one of the best records I've ever heard in my life, he left music to concentrate on his painting, and he moved to the high desert somewhere with his wife and just kind of laid really low and worked on his watercolors. And so he was going to have an art opening at a museum or a gallery down the road from where we lived. And Joe found this out and said, look, Captain Beefheart's going to be up the street. It's free, which is great because we're broke. And so we go to this art gallery thinking we're going to hang out with Captain Beefheart because no one else is going to be there but us. Of course, the place is packed. And we walk in, there's all these abstract watercolors on the wall. And I'm like, wow, that's cool. Where's Captain Beefheart? We're going to throw down with the captain. It never happened. And we see Captain Beefheart, who at this point is very, very frail. And he's in a wheelchair, and he's being wheeled around to different paintings. And he would have some patron push him up to one of his paintings. He'd lean back in the wheelchair and throw some hex on the paper. What's he doing? And so we walked behind him as he made this odd lap around the gallery doing this thing. It was really fun to watch him do his thing to the art. And then he was wheeled away and disappeared. And then Joe and I spent quite a bit of time in there perusing, taking another lap, digging the art. And then eventually, after about an hour or so, we got our fill. And we're standing outside watching the sunset. It's a beautiful Southern Californian early evening. You can smell the ocean. Santa Monica is absolutely gorgeous. So we're standing there. Joe Cole is standing to my right. I'm standing here. The late, great DJ from KCRW in Santa Monica, Deirdre O'Donoghue, who taught me everything about radio, is standing next to me. And standing next to Deirdre is a guy who apparently has had a great deal of success in the cartoon world. His name is Matt Groening. Am I saying that? Anyway, Matt Groening is standing there with his little tiny baby daughter at his left ankle, who was eating a penny, which I found to be particularly disgusting. It's like copper. But you know, a kid at that age where everything looks interesting, so let's taste it. So there's a beautiful little girl saying, no, that's really awful. And we're talking about Captain Beefheart, how cool that was and all of that. And right around that moment, Dennis Hopper walks out of the art gallery towards his gleaming black Porsche Turbo. And he's walking across the parking lot. Joe Cole digs his elbow in me like, look, Dennis Hopper, go for some spoken word. I go, what does that mean? I already know what it means. Act like an asshole in public. So like, really? You gotta do this. He's right, of course. And so I can't say no. It's a dare. It's now on. So I have to think very, very quickly because Dennis is about to leave the parking lot. So I figured Dennis Hopper would absolutely love nothing more than having this role as Frank Booth from the film Umbrella, which had just recently scorched our brains a couple of years before on the big screen. We watched that one at least 2 or 3 times, never fully recovered from that film. We figured, or at least I figured, that Dennis Hopper would love nothing more than a public impersonation of Frank Booth, yell at very high volume at his back. Like, no one had ever done that before. And no one in a hotel lobby or in the first class section of an airplane had ever said, you're Dennis Hopper, right? Right. Am I figuring you out? How long is this like? Am I talking about something? And so I figured he would absolutely love this tribute. And so with everything I had in me, I inhaled, and I can pack quite a wallop when I'm so inspired. And I figured I would reenact that scene where Dennis Hopper's character falls quite out of love with Colin McLaughlin's character and issues him a death threat. So with everything I had in me, I yelled at the back of Dennis Hopper. I warned you the next passage has some obscenity. I yelled, "Hey, fucker! I'm going to send you a love letter, fucker! Right from the bottom of my heart!" Dennis Hopper turns around with a face unlike I've ever seen him hold in any of his amazing and intense films. He was not acting, it was in the moment. The face is like, then he sees who issued this scene from his past. My neck is flared like an Indian cobra. My face is blue-purple. The eyes are wild and bugging out. The nostrils are flared. That odd vein is pulsating madly diagonally down my forehead. And I'm leaning into it. I, too, being in the moment. He sees me like, ah! And runs. Breaks into a run. And runs to his car. Hops in. Fires it up. And screams out of the parking lot. Joe looks over and goes like, nice. Dennis Hopper and I never had another scene together anywhere, and I never got to work with him again. We had that one improv moment in Santa Monica. No doubt he never forgot that for the rest of his life. And if anyone ever said, remember the time you saw, he still would freak him out to the end. And so, you know, Joe dug my action. I forget what gear it is. He's like, oh, I can't believe I'm hanging out with this person. Matt Groening has never, ever spoken to me again. Think about it. Some man yelling these words at the top of his lungs next to a child who is still in diapers. That child is scarred for life. That child, no doubt, spent half the afternoon, this afternoon, on an analyst's couch like, ah! Well, she's probably in a punk band now. That's how you recover from bad parenting. Anyway, and so it was a great evening, but California has given to me so many of these moments. And the last time I came to see you was about a third of the way into a tour that coughed and keeled over and died in September, early or late August of last year at the Edinburgh Festival at 143 shows. And so I left Chicago and went all over, and eventually was in the Pacific Northwest. And I was in Oregon and Washington State, and we came out of Oregon, I think, back into California. And like some kind of greeting card as we crossed over into the state of California, I got an email from a detective from the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. And the guy, he let me know that he was definitely for real. He showed me my social